love. If you found this space, I don't think it was by accident. I think part of you already knew that you were looking for somewhere to land, somewhere that felt like a deep exhale. And I'm really glad you're here. My name is Kelly. I'm a holistic wellness coach, a certified birth doula, and a woman who spent the last several years learning what it actually means to come home to yourself. And right now, at the time of this recording, I'm 30 years old. And I'm not going to pretend that that number doesn't mean something to me, because it does. 30 really felt like a threshold. It's like the universe was asking me, okay, who are you now? You know, I can think back to 2016 when I was 19 and I experienced my first spiritual awakening, and I was just trying to survive, but this isn't about the version of me that held everyone else together either. When the universe asks me who I am now, when the universe asks you who you are, you want to be able to say that you're you, your full, unedited, and becoming self, right? So this past year was the year of the snake in the Chinese astrology. And if you know anything about the snake energy, you know that it's about shedding and release. And the skin that you outgrow that doesn't fall away easy all the time. Sometimes it has to be pulled off. And that's what this last year has truly asked of me. I spent a long time being the one who held everyone together. And I'm the eldest daughter. I'm the one who absorbed other people's emotions. Shout out to my Pisces moon. And I called it love. And I didn't really realize how exhausted I was until I finally stopped doing it, and I had to face something that was uncomfortable. And that uncomfortable truth was that I didn't know how to pour into myself without feeling guilty for it. And that's just from years and years of putting other people before myself. And I'll even say programming from society, not embracing who I fully was and what I need to be myself, right? To be at my fullest. And I also had this quiet, persistent fear that if I really stepped into my full self and I showed up loudly, that something would shift. Or something would be lost, or maybe I'd be too much, and, being seen would cost me something that I wasn't really willing to give up. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, but I'll pause here to ask, does this sound familiar? This podcast and this space is for women who are in that in-between phase, right? Still shedding, still becoming, women who are learning that maybe for the first time that healing isn't something that you just do in private. It's something you practice, and you can do it out loud. You can do it with community and ritual and the ordinary sacred moments of every single day. It's taken me, again, several years to build this ritual, but I really feel like I have that to share, for one, but I also want to do it alongside you. So let me tell you a little bit more about what you can expect here. She Who Heals is a podcast intended to be about the kind of healing that happens slowly and quietly and deeply. We're going to talk about some deep topics, if you will, like the mother wound and grief for people who've passed, but also for people who are still here but somehow absent. And we're also going to talk about the body. I have PCOS myself, and that's part of my journey in the last several years, is learning how to pour into my cup so that I could manage my symptoms. So yeah, lots of topics that I'm excited to get into with you guys. I think, I take a holistic approach that incorporates the seasons. So I felt it was only right to really start this podcast in the spring when the seeds are being planted. The flowers are starting to blossom again, and it's starting to not feel so cold. I think it's a perfect time to embrace all that was and move forward into becoming, right? So hopefully by listening to this podcast, you'll become aware of the sacred rhythms that so many of us have been taught to ignore. And every episode is going to feel like a ceremony. That's my intention. Something that you don't just listen to, but something you actually do. We're going to have rituals, journal prompts, and affirmations, and each episode will be cross-posted to my Substack. So just in case you want to read instead of listen, there's always a space for you to go deeper there and share your comments, share your story. Tell me a little bit about who you are. This isn't just a podcast, it's a practice, and I'm truly honored to be in it with you. So this isn't going to be a super long episode because it's the first episode and I don't want to overwhelm you with too much. Just give you a little taste into what She Who Heals is and what you can expect. But I do want to dive a little bit more into why I chose to launch this podcast on March 20th, the first day of spring. And, it just, again, feels like the right day to begin something for me, but also for those of you who are listening, but yeah, let me talk a little bit more about that. So it's March 20th. It's a spring equinox, the first day of Aries season for my astrology girlies. And that means it's also basically the astrological new year. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? And normally we think of the new year being January 1st. November 1st is my birthday. We think of the new year being January 1st in the Gregorian calendar. And that just kind of is a time where we set arbitrary resolutions and we're like, okay, we're going to get down with this year. But today is a new year that the earth herself is participating in, right? So today, the light and the dark are in perfect balance. And from here, the light is going to grow, meaning that we're going to have more longer days. And we're also, going to move toward the summer solstice. But nature doesn't rush her becoming. And that is what I want us to remember. Nature, she spends all winter in preparation, and then quietly one day she tips toward the sun. And today is that day. Also, it's the final day of Mercury retrograde. Praise the Lord. If you know anything about Mercury, the planet of communication, when it's in retrograde, clarity and anything regarding forward motion can feel like they're just coming to a halt. But as of today, she's stationing direct, and the things that we're waiting and wanting to begin can move again. Okay, so another reason that it's the perfect time for you to start your journey of listening to She Who Heals and seeing what rituals and practices you can implement in your life as you listen to this podcast. But we have the astrological new year, the return of light, and the end of retrograde that asks us to slow down and look inward. So if you've been feeling that way lately, you've been feeling lethargic, that's to be understood. But the light is coming back. Anyone who deals with seasonal depression, you already know how that feels when it's time to change seasons. It's getting warmer outside. Just know that wherever you are, it's never too late, and you're starting at exactly the right time. So let's get into the fun stuff, the ritual. And while it feels like we're in this portal, this special time, I really want to introduce you guys to a ritual that I love to use during this time of year, and introduce you, if you're not familiar, with Oshun. So let's get into it. If you would like to participate in this ritual, what you'll need is a yellow or gold candle. Orange will also work. You're also going to need honey if you have some nearby. Please don't feel pressed to go purchase anything. But if you don't have any of that, that's fine. Just bring yourself. Your presence is enough in this case, okay? So, who's Oshun? Oshun is in Yoruba tradition is the Orisha of love and joy and abundance and sweetness. I like to think of it as the Orisha of playfulness as well. Anytime I need to get out of a rut and really get out of the rigid feeling and the mundane feeling that you get just going day to day through life, I turn to Oshun. Okay, so Oshun governs our ability to receive. And that's another reason why I like to call on Oshun, because I personally just am working on that a lot. That's part of my healing, let's say. So, letting ourselves receive, letting ourselves be nourished. She's the feminine force that says that we're allowed to enjoy life. And that's something we all have to remember. And we could use a reminder of, I'm sure, a reminder that we are a delight to the world. So, on the first day of spring, calling on Oshun just feels right. It feels like the most natural thing to do. So, I need you to grab your candle at this time. If you're watching this, you can see that I have my Oshun candle here. But what I like to do as well, I'm going to go off script a little bit, but make sure that you're also cleansing your candle if you're getting it from a spiritual store or wherever you're getting it from. If you're ordering it offline, I like to cleanse with some sage or some Palo Santo, just to cleanse the energy and make sure the candle has your intention and not any intention or energy of anyone who has touched it in the shipping, packaging, inventory process. So I like to do that and start with a clean slate. You're also going to take a moment to hold your candle and just integrate your energy into it. So I'm not going to light my candle on camera. I'm going to wait until the actual spring equinox to light mine. But when you're ready, you can light your candle and you'll be able to come back to this candle and recite the affirmations that I'll provide in just a bit, but also use the journal prompts while the candle is lit. These candles are supposed to be 7-day candles, so you have plenty of time to come back to your altar space or your candle space, relight your candle or keep it lit the entire time and do this work. The other thing that's important is setting an intention. This is not like, a to-do list or a goal. It's something that's going to live in your body. So when you tap into your intuition, you'll know what the intentions for yourself, because you know best what you want to focus on right now. You may now take this time to light your candle. Now place your hands over your heart. Take a breath and say this out loud if you can. I am ready to receive what is meant for me. I release the weight of everything I carried through the winter. I welcome joy, not something that I have to earn, but as something I return to. I am allowed to begin again. I am allowed to be seen. I am allowed to bloom. And you can let your candle burn as we move into our journal prompts and let Oshun hold the space with us. For this next part of the practice, you're going to need your journal and a blue pen if possible. Black is fine, just as long as you're not writing with pencil. These prompts are also going to live in the Substack post, so you can return to them anytime. But I want to read them to you here first. So find something to write with, or just let the questions sit in your body and see what comes up. Here we go. What did this past winter ask of me? And did I give it willingly, or was it taken from me? What is one thing I've been waiting for permission to begin? And who did I think permission had to come from? Where in my life am I still carrying someone else's emotional weight? What would it feel like if I gently set it down? What does joy actually look like for me right now? Not as a destination, but as a way of moving through my days. Last prompt here. If I wrote a letter to the version of me who started this year, what would I want her to know? And by this year, I mean the last 12 months. You can do the last 6 months or the last 3 months since the beginning of January or whenever you're listening to this. Okay, and to close our ritual today, I want to leave you with some affirmations. You can repeat them after me, say them to yourself, write them down, or just let them sit in your body again and see what comes up. I am allowed to begin again as many times as I need to. My healing does not have to be loud to be real. I am rooted enough to bloom. I release the guilt of choosing myself. Being fully seen is not a threat. It's my birthright. It's not something I earn. It's something I return to. I trust the season I am in. I am becoming, and that is more than enough. I want to thank you so much for participating in that ceremony with me, and I'm so excited to share what's to come. I do want to let you know what's coming in that regard before I let you. So now that you've been inducted into the She Who Heals community, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about the mother wound, the quiet, complicated grief that so many of us carry without a name for it, the shame that revolves around being women, being a queer woman, if you relate to that, being a woman from the South, right? The shame and the guilt that we hold in our bodies. If you're a plus size woman, I can relate to that too. And we're going to talk about it all because that is how you heal. In this space, we're going to be healing through storytelling. We're going to be talking about grieving and grieving people who are even still alive. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what it means to be a woman in your full power and without apologizing for the space that you take up. So with that said, in each episode, we're going to be continuing these ceremonies and rituals. We're going to move with the seasons and the rhythm of our bodies and with the energy of what's in the present, because I don't think healing is linear. There may be days where you want to sit with things that have happened in the past and how you've moved forward. And the more we align with the rhythms around us, the more that we remember the rhythms that are within us and that our bodies are living with and living in and moving through, so that we can also get into cyclical balance with our bodies, no matter what phase of your cycle you're in, what stage of life you're in, whether it's your childbearing years, perimenopausal, menopausal. We can remember those rhythms that are within us all. So you can also find the full ritual for today's episode on Substack. Make sure you guys go follow me over there. The journal prompts will be housed there too, as well as the affirmations. And the candle ceremony will be written out completely if you want to revisit that. You can come back to it whenever you need. On the next Spring Equinox, of course, as you know, or as you can guess, I'll be posting more throughout these astrological seasons with the summer solstice and the fall equinox. You can catch it all here. So if this landed for you and you felt something shift, even in the least bit, please share it with someone who needs it. That is how work travels, and that's how we're going to build this She Who Heals community. So that's it for this episode. Until next time, tend to yourself gently. The sun is back, and so are you.